Okay, we'll start now section 3.5 video, part 1. In our last video, we had learned how to take the equation of a line and find the slope and the y-intercept by putting it in slope-intercept form. What I want to do now is I want to show you how to take that slope and y-intercept and actually graph the line from those two pieces of information. Now, we talked about in section 3.3, we talked about graphing a line. We talked about graphing a line by just picking numbers, plug a number in for x and find y, or plug a number in for y and find x, by just choosing numbers. And we also talked about how to graph a line by finding the intercepts, the x-intercept and the y-intercept. And I told you at that time, I said, we will learn one other way to graph a line. And so we're going to do that now, and that's by using this slope and y-intercept. So write these instructions down here. The instructions will say basically this: graph the line, so write this down, graph the line by using the slope and y-intercept. Graph the line by using the slope and y-intercept. Okay, so let's look at, we won't look at a couple of these because this is pretty easy to do once you see it. So let's look at this first example here. 3x minus 2y equals to, let's just say 2. Okay, so it says graph the line by using the slope and the y-intercept. So what that means then, that means that I have to find those two things first. All right, we'll do that just like we did the last group of problems in the last section. To put it in slope y-intercept form, first thing I have to do is solve this for y. So I'll subtract 3x from both sides. And then get rid of the coefficient of y by dividing. We talked last time about how to divide that separately. So this equation right here is now in what we call slope-intercept form. So this means then that the slope is the coefficient of x and the y-intercept is -1. Or we could write it as the ordered pair 0, -1. All right, so how do we sketch this graph then? Because I want to graph by using these two facts. This is actually really easy to do. All you do is you draw your graph. On the computer, it will already be drawn for you. Okay, so what's involved in graphing a line? You have to plot 2 points. Well, the y-intercept is a point. So if I plot the y-intercept, which is 0, -1, it's on the y-axis. It's not here. That's on the x-axis. 0, -1 is here. Now what I want to do to graph this line is use the fact that the slope is 3/2. So what I can do is remember slope by definition is rise over run. So what I'll do is put my pencil on the first point that I plotted and go up 3 spaces. This is 1, so I need to go up 2 more from the point that I plotted, up 3, and then I'm going to have to go to the right 2 spaces. So go up 3, to the right 2. So that's the point 2, 2 if you was going to write its ordered pairs or ordered pair. Now draw your line through those 2 points, and that is how you graph a line by using the slope and y-intercept. Okay, let's just do one more. That'll be enough of this. So let's do 3x y equals to 5. 3x plus y equal 5. Okay, so what I want to do is I want to take this equation, I want to put it in slope-intercept form. That means solve it for y. When I do, I get y equals negative 3x plus 5. The slope is the number in front of x. The y-intercept is the number that's on the end. Now, to graph this line, plot the y-intercept. I'm sorry, I'm going the wrong way. So y-intercept is 5. So that's here because this is the point 0, 5. Now the slope is negative 3. Remember, slope is rise over run. So that will mean go down 3 and right 1 from this point that I just plotted. So I'll come to here, go down 1, 2, 3, but then you have to go to the right 1. So down 1, 2, 3, to the right 1, place that point. Then draw the line through those 2 points, and that's the graph of that line. So it's pretty easy to graph a line by using the slope and y-intercept. Now, once again, you might be thinking, well, then why didn't we just do this that way when we covered it before? First of all, we had not covered the slope. Secondly is sometimes this y-intercept, like if this y right here had a 2 in front of it, you'd have to divide through by 2, and that y-intercept would have been a fraction. So sometimes it's a little messy to do that, but it's just another way of graphing a line. Now, when it comes time for test, I will ask you both ways. I will ask you to make sure you know how to graph a line by using the intercepts, and then I will ask you to make sure you know how to graph a line by using the slope and y-intercept. This is how you do that. Okay, now the last thing that we want to do in this section is we want to turn the tables around, and we want to do this. What we want to do is we're going to be looking for the equation of a line. Now, when I say looking for the equation of a line, the equation of a line is the thing that has the x's and the y's in it. Or if it's a vertical line, which means it has an undefined slope, it has just an x in it. Or if it's a horizontal line, it'll have just a y in it. But, so we're looking for the equation. If you'll notice in these 2 problems we just did, we started, this thing right here, we started with the equation. We started with the equation. Now, what I'm about to do is I'm about to turn the question around, and we're going to be looking for the equation. Now, in order to find the equation of a line, you have to be given some information. For instance, if I just said, find the equation of the line I'm thinking about. Well, there's no way of knowing what the equation of that line is. So I have to give you some information. And depending upon what that information is, depends upon how easy or how difficult getting that equation is. And we're going to break this up into stages. So you're going to have to really pay attention, take good notes, and really listen carefully. All right, let's suppose I gave you the slope and the y-intercept for the problem. Could we go backwards and write the equation? Well, gracious, yes. Because here's your equation right here. So if I give you the slope and the y-intercept, all you have to do is take this number, plug it in place of x, take this number, put it on the end, and that's your equation. So that's one scenario. But sometimes we're not given the slope and the y-intercept. Sometimes we're given other information. So, but before I get to that, let's do those first because those are the easiest. I mean, you can just go straight to the answer. If I give you the slope and y-intercept, Okay, you just simply use the slope-intercept form of the line. Okay, write these instructions down here. Let me go over here. All right, here's the instructions. Write it as I write it. Find the equation of the line by using the given information. Find the equation of the line by using the given information. Now, these first couple, again, is incredibly easy, but let's do them anyway. Okay, number one. Suppose we know that the slope is 5 and the y-intercept is 0, 3. Now, I don't have to tell you that this is the y-intercept. If I just wrote 0, 3, you automatically should know that that's the y-intercept. Why should you know that? Because in the ordered pair, if the first number is 0, that point is on the y-axis. So I don't have to list this as 0, 3. But here's all we have to do. Y equal mx plus b. M is 5. B is that 3 right there. And that's it. That is the equation of your line right there. All right, let's do another one. And again, that'll be enough. So suppose we know the slope is 2/3 and the y-intercept is 0, -1/2. Well, then this would be y equal mx plus b. So this would be y equals 2/3 x minus 1/2. So, can we get the equation of a line if we know the slope and y-intercept? Gracious, yes. You go straight to that answer. You don't have to do any work. Now, what if I give you the slope and some other point? In other words, what if I give you a point that the line goes through, but it's not the y-intercept? In other words, what if this first number is not 0? So if this is 3, 7, you can't put a 7 right here because 3, 7 is not your y-intercept. So how do we do this? Okay, I'm about to give you another note. Take this note down, pause it at any time you need to get the whole note written down. I will talk slowly as I normally do, but you can rewind it and play it again if you need to. Very important note right here. To get the equation of a line, we must know 2 facts about that line. We must know 2 facts about that line. We must know the slope of that line, M, and a point on that line. And then write x1, y1 in parentheses. One more sentence. To get the equation, we can use the point slope formula, we can use the point slope formula, which is, and then here is the point slope formula. Y minus y1 equals to m times x minus x1. This is the point slope formula. Y minus y1 equals to m times x minus x1. Okay, now let me make a few comments about this. All right, first, what's the purpose in this formula? To help me find the equation, to help me get this right here. That's what this is for. Now, what two things do you have to know in order to use this formula? Well, look at the name of it. You have to know a point on the line, any point, and the slope. So here's what we're going to do. We will be given a point on the line. It'll look like that. And we're going to be given the slope of the line. What we're going to do is we're going to call this point x1, y1. Of course, that number is m. And then all we're going to do is take whatever x1 is, put it right here. Whatever y1 is, put it right here. Whatever m is, and put it right here. And you say, well, Mr. Rayner, what do we do with this x and with this y? Nothing. That's where your equation comes from. Your equation will have x's and y's left in it. So that's the purpose in this formula. Now listen carefully right here. This formula could actually work these two right up here. But I don't have to use this formula here. And the reason is this. This point slope formula means any point that I'm given. So is the y-intercept a point? Yes, it is. The y-intercept is a point. So this formula would have actually worked those two problems right up there. But anytime the point that you're given is your y-intercept, you can just use y equal mx plus b. You don't have to use this. So the only time I would use this is when that point, that ordered pair, is not your y-intercept. Now, how can you tell that? Whenever you have an ordered pair and that first number is not 0. Now, just to show you in just a second, I'm going to show you this one right here actually will work the very first problem we worked just a second ago. So let's do that right quick. All right, so look back at the very first problem. We were given that the slope was 5 and the y-intercept was 0,3. Now, I'm not going to use y equal mx plus b. I just want to show you that this formula right here was still working. So what I'm going to do is call this x1, y1. Of course, there's my m. So I'm going to have y minus y1 is 3 equals m, which is 5, times x minus x1, which is 0. Now, whenever we're writing the equation of a line, we typically like to solve it for y if we can. So what I'm going to do is distribute this 5. 5 times x is 5x, minus 5 times 0 is 0. And then if I get the y by itself, I've got to add 3 to both sides. And when I do, I get y equal 5x plus 3. And if you will notice, if you will look back, that is the exact same answer that we got when we did y equal mx plus b. Now, which one was quicker? Y equal mx plus b. Why could I use y equal mx plus b? Because this is the y-intercept. So it still gave you the same answer. But whenever this ordered pair is some other point other than the y-intercept, so if this number right here is not 0, you can't use y equal mx plus b anymore. You must use the point slope formula. So we're going to continue doing some problems where we're looking for the equation of a line, and we will do that, pick up with that in our next video.